very first time that I saw your brown eyes. Your lips said hello, and I said hi. This is Sports for Real with Coach Hall as we count down the end of 2024. A lot of people already partying pretty hard around me. You got to keep your eyes open because you got some erratic driving going on. So wherever you are, make sure you stay safe tonight. But while everybody's out doing whatever, I'm going to be watching me some football. Tonight, the college football playoffs resume with the Penn State Nittany Lions going into Boise State. They probably never played before, and if they did, they certainly didn't play in Idaho. And should be an interesting football game. But the question is, can Boise State star running back, who finished runner-up in the Heisman, can he get off track against Penn State? Before you start to question whether Boise State can compete with Penn State, I remind you that early in the season, they were within one score of knocking off Oregon. And it wasn't like they had to scramble to get within one score. It was nip and tuck all day. Oregon just a little bit too strong for them in the end. So this is a very good football team, and that is a very good back. But it's going to come down to how well he can run the football. If GT can get 100 yards and they're able to run the football, then it's going to be a tough contest on both sides. But if they can stop GT from running the football, then I don't think Boise State's going to be able to keep up with them. Now, I'm saying this because way Boise State, they can't compete. But Penn State right now, I think they're playing their best football. But the thing about it is, this is not SMU. SMU, they came to play, all except for the quarterback. It's too big for the quarterback at SMU. And he was making high school mistakes. You see a guy open and freeze and panic and just throw the ball up for grabs. Two of them got returned for touchdowns. But the defense, they was in there the whole time. So if SMU could have a better performance from the quarterback, you might have had a different result in that first round game. But that's here nor there. SMU is dead for 2024. And now is what can Penn State do against GT and Boise State. Going to be a cold game, somewhere around 30 degrees, might get a little bit of snow. Doesn't bother either team because they're both cold weather, so not going to be an issue there. The question is, can Boise State run the ball? But that's tonight. But up to this point, let me go back a little bit before I get into what I want to talk about. Before the playoffs started, you had a bunch of noise coming out of the SEC camp. Ciao, Amadeo, how you doing? There was a lot of noise coming out of the SEC camp about the teams that should have got in the playoffs and those that shouldn't be in the playoffs. And when you have the big blowouts by Penn State and Notre Dame blowing out Indiana, SEC people say, see, they shouldn't have been there in the first place. Well, Tennessee was a borderline team, and they had griped that the game that they were playing against Ohio State, they felt like they should have been the home team, not the road team. Well, the way that game unfolded, I don't think it would have mattered if they played on the Volunteers practice field. It wasn't going to make a difference because Ohio State was a better team. They were a step ahead of them, and the coaches did a better job of coaching the team. Tennessee, everything that Ohio State saw on film, that's what they did, even the same circumstances. So it wasn't a great coaching performance by Tennessee. But ever since that loss by the Volunteers, you haven't heard a whole lot of talking coming from the SEC about who deserves to be in the playoffs and who does not. Maybe a few Alabama fans, but cue up Alabama today. Who do they get? They get a rematch in the postseason with Michigan. Now, This is not Harbaugh's Michigan, where you had a quarterback and you had a running game and you had a pretty seasoned football team ready to play that can convert and get the ball down the field. Not that Michigan team. This Michigan team, all they can do is one thing. They still play pretty good defense. They can run the ball because they got big linemen, but quarterback, non-existent. So if you got a team that's coming in and you know ahead of time that they can't throw the football, there's no reason why a mighty team like Alabama shouldn't come in and just push Michigan around and beat them by 2 or 3 scores. Well, that hadn't been the case so far for Michigan, because one thing they have heart. They have a champion's heart from last year. We saw it when they got past USC. Yeah, they got a couple breaks to do it, but they won the game. Then they knocked off Ohio State. And now they just knocked off Alabama today, 19-13. And they did it by putting pressure on Milroe. Now, what's comical to me about talking about Alabama and Milroe, I like Milroe. Milroe's a great guy. He's a great character, a great citizen, all that. He just won this academic award. The man is on the ball. But I don't think Milroe is ready to be an NFL quarterback. Because as you see, in the end, he's trying to set up to throw a pass. He can't escape the rush to get the ball down the field. You got people open, but if you can't stand in there and throw it, you can't hit them. Now, they got a break on that one field goal that they kick. He's got a guy running free down the middle of the field. Wasn't even close to hitting the guy. And the defender came in and bumped him up high, and they called a 15-yard penalty. And they ended up turning that into a field goal, 51-yard field goal, desperation kick. But the whole game, Michigan was able to get after them, and they kept them off balance. And it's another victory for Michigan in a game that they had no business winning. So the question is, with Tennessee getting blown out by Ohio State, a Big Ten team, Michigan knocking off Alabama, a Big Ten team, you have yesterday Missouri had to scramble to come from behind and catch up with Iowa, a team that's also bad on offense. They can only play one way. They're going to run the football and play good defense and hope you don't turn the ball over. That's Iowa. Missouri had trouble with that team. Now, South Carolina's look like they're going to be in a battle with Illinois all day. So the question is, what was the better conference? Was it the Big Ten or the SEC? Or is it that the SEC was simply overrated in 2024? It's not a good look right now for the SEC. And don't tell me this is a bowl game and people are sitting out because they transfer and all of that. Yeah, everybody else is doing the same thing. But in the past, when things occurred and the SEC was able to get a, say, 7-3 bowl mark, everybody would point to that mark and say, look how great the SEC is. Look how much more deeper of a conference they are. They bust their arm patting the SEC on the back. But when they lose, nobody says anything. Why is that? And I've been trying to figure that out for the last 15 years. Like I told you guys before, you got all these conferences are set up the same. You got 2 or 3 teams at the top. You got 2 or 3 teams at the bottom. Everybody else is in the middle. You shake them teams up and put them in the bag, and then you have what you have this year, the college football playoff parity, as well as the bowl season parity. Now, I will say this. The last 10 years, 7, 8, 9 years, the SEC, the best team in the SEC, was better than everybody else. So you got to give them that credit. But that doesn't mean that everybody in the SEC is going to dominate the other conferences. Now, the large disparity of non-conference victories that the SEC holds over these teams is when you have a team like South Carolina beating a team like Wofford, or Florida beating Missouri State or something like that. You know, so teams they're supposed to win. The teams that you pay to come in, pay them a good salary to come in, be competitive somewhat, but take this money because you know you can't keep up. Those are the victories that the SEC has racked up over the years. Like I said, I'm not taking anything away from the best team in the SEC because they've been better than everybody else. But everybody else, they're no different than anybody else. And you're seeing that in these bowl games. So my question is, why can't I get anybody from the SEC to do all the talking that they've been doing about how they should be in the playoffs and others should not? The only other team that's left that has to put up or shut up, that's Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss got a good draw because they're going to have Duke down here at the Gator Bowl on Thursday. They got a good chance of winning that, and probably could pull away if things go right. But that's no guarantee. But if they can't beat up on an average Duke team, in my opinion, that still makes the SEC, it don't make them look so great, man. But I don't know. It's just my point of view. I just got my oil change, and the guy I was talking to, he's a Missouri guy. He said he's from Missouri through and through. And he says he don't know who's playing the game these days, and what is the point of a bowl game now with all these guys moving around? Hey, that's some credence to that argument. But the subject of Neil is the real thing. There's not a whole lot that anybody can do about it right now. But the question is, should Congress step in and regulate it? Because without regulation, all kind of things can go wrong. Case in point, right now, the Florida State basketball team, they're being sued. The coach, Leonard Hamilton, has been sued by some former players last year who said they were supposed to get like a $1.5 million NIL agreement, and the school reneged on it. Well, that's the thing. If you don't have anything in writing, or don't get your money up front, you might just put yourself in a position that you could get crossed. Now, I don't know what the agreement was between Hamilton and these players, but for 5 or 6 players to join together in a lawsuit about this NIL money, I don't see why the school would refuse to pay these guys, because it wouldn't look good for the university to find out that you falsely luring these guys in and not wanting to pay them their money. That's not going to look good for Florida State, especially with with the kind of season they had, and you compound that with the basketball program doing the same kind of thing. It's like a snake oil salesman. You lure these kids in and tell them all kind of dreams, but then you don't come through. Well, somebody's going to end up getting hurt behind that, because it's not a little bit of money we're talking about. We're not talking about $100 or $1,000. We're talking about over $1 million. Now, you know what people will do in those kind of situations. So I say if Leonard Hamilton is in a position where he's owing these guys, I would suggest that he go ahead and pay them, because it's not really coming out of his pocket. But if he loses his lawsuit, he's going to have to pay. The Neil Collective is not going to back him up on that. And what they'll probably end up doing is firing him. That's just the way things go. So I don't know. But you hear all these stories all the time. The UNLV guy, the quarterback that came from Holy Cross, he was in the same kind of situation. And it didn't turn out well for him. He packed up and left. He had a winning team, and he packed up and left. So I'll let you know right then, to the players, it's all about the money, man. And I think that Congress, they may have to step in to regulate this thing, or it's going to continue to spiral out of control. But as far as other things that's occurring, Neil-wise, the guy Juju Lewis, the Georgia high school quarterback from Carrollton, he signed some kind of fan deal with an NIL collector. He's still in high school, mind you. He's going to graduate early, and he's already got NIL deals in the state, and he's also has the NIL deal coming toward college. So he's got himself set up pretty well. Travis Hunter found out that the Adidas deal that he signed. I'll tell you, this guy, it's a good guy. This guy Travis Hunter. He says every time he signs a deal, he want to make sure that his family members are included. So in that Adidas deal, he made sure that his little brother, who's playing football in Effingham County, right outside Savannah, he got him hooked up with the Adidas deal. So again, more positive marks for Travis Hunter. But it looks like he probably going to end up in New England, man. The Giants surprised everybody by knocking off the Colts. I had just told the guy, because I do the Fango media with the Jacksonville fans. He telling me that he think that the Colts were going to the playoffs. So I emphatically told him, look, man, the Colts aren't going to the playoffs. And I didn't have any idea that they were getting beat at that time by the Giants. Nobody expected the Giants to win anything. They hadn't done anything all year. But the way that the year is gone, I kind of figured that the Giants would somehow find a way to win a game. And sure enough, they did. And what that win did for the Giants, it took them out of the top draft choice position. And I don't know where they are now. But It moved Tennessee up to number 2. New England now has the top spot. And then you have, it's going to be the Raiders, Jets, and all of them to round out the next 4 or 5 picks. But it looks like that the New England already has their quarterback, so there's no reason to pick a quarterback. And Tennessee fans, they were clamoring for Shedeur Sanders. It looks like Shedeur just might end up in Tennessee. And he had been wearing Giant shoes a couple of days before that. So I don't know if he's going to switch over to Titan shoes, but I think he should hold on and see how this final week of the season plays out. But the NFL playoffs is going to be exciting. But right now the excitement is going to shift over to the college football playoffs, where you have Boise State hosting Penn State. I'm sure Boise State never hosted a team like Penn State before, so it's going to be interesting to see them go in there. It's going to be cold. Both teams are used to that, so it's going to be some running the football. I don't think it's going to be too windy, but it might snow from the weather report I got. It's going to come down to, can Boise State run the football? If they're not able to run the football, this might be a long night for them, even if it is on the blue field. But if they're able to run the football, and that magic they got out there on the blue field, it could be a tough evening for Penn State. So they better buckle it up. And they can't depend on the quarterback to throw the game away like SMU quarterback did. And if it plays out to be an even game, then it's going to come down to the running game. When I say even, I mean no turnovers. A whole lot of turnovers to shift the tide of the battle like what SMU did. I know that guy, Jennings, he's a better player than what he showed, but I think that particular environment, his eyes are he was just in the wrong place that night, and he took his team down with him. But I don't think that's going to be the case tonight with Boise State. I think they're going to find a way to run the football, and even if they don't win, it's going to make it very interesting for Penn State. But one thing about Penn State, though, they are playing their best football. So Boise State has a tall task ahead of them, and it's not going to be in the Cinderellas that make the championship. In my opinion, it's going to be the team that stays the healthiest. But I started off talking about the SEC. I wonder if there are going to be any SEC teams in the championship this year. Georgia with their quarterback, Stockton, he's capable, but he's not going to have the same effect starting the game as he did coming off the bench against Texas. Notre Dame has tape on this guy, and they're going to have a better idea of how to defend him more so than what Texas did. Now, like I said before, I seen this guy play in high school from up very north Georgia, Rabun County up there, right on the Tennessee line. And he's a cocky kid, and if he's able to get things going his way, he's going to get more cockier. But if you start to put a little pressure on him, like what happened to him when he was in high school, he started playing against better teams and he couldn't do the stuff that he was used to getting away with, then things start to change. And I think you're going to see a little bit of that come tomorrow night. That game is going to come down to how well Stockton is able to play, along with can Georgia run the football against Notre Dame. That is Notre Dame's weakness on defense. If they can't stop the run and they allow Stockton to make some key completions, then I don't see them beating Georgia. But if they're able to slow that running game down and put Stockton in a position where he has to beat them, then I think that shifts to Notre Dame's advantage. In Texas, they didn't look too great against Clemson, and Arizona State is better than a lot of people think. The question is, will Arizona State go the way of SMU? Will the lights be a little bit too bright for them? Now, I can't understand why Arizona didn't play in the Fiesta Bowl. I don't understand why they didn't get Fiesta Bowl for that particular game. Everybody else got the good draw as far as home proximity, other than Arizona State. So if they can deal with playing in a dome in that loud crowd, and I don't know how well Arizona State is going to travel. Texas is going to travel well. So if they're able to overcome that crowd and playing in that environment, I think Arizona is going to be fine. They got that running back Scatterboo. He's a good player. If he's able to get on track, he's going to give Texas fits. It's not going to be a walk in the park for Texas by any means. But I'm interested to see just how well Georgia and Texas do tomorrow because they hold the flags for SEC. Right now, I hadn't checked the score with Illinois and South Carolina in a few minutes, but it was 7-3 Illinois, and that's after Illinois earlier had fumbled the ball on the 1 yard line. It looked like the guy broke the plane. Looked like he was down before the ball came out, but they ruled it otherwise. So Illinois is very capable of beating that red-hot South Carolina team. And then you saw Alabama get beat by Michigan again. This might be one of those years where the SEC might have a losing bowl record. And what they're going to do, like they always do, they're going to sweep it right under the rug. Because the SEC, the idea is that they're superior, and you can't have the superior ones getting beat. When that happens, you just try to sweep it under the rug, and hopefully it just goes away. But I'm not going to let it go away because I've been hearing this kind of garbage for years. Again, the SEC's top team has been the best. But the rest of them, you got 2 or 3 teams at the top, 2 or 3 at the bottom, and the rest are in the middle. And I'm not going to say that these guys are so superior to everybody else. And the one thing that they point to is the non-conference record of the SEC. Yeah, they dominate, but they also dominating teams they pay to come in and beat during the regular season. That's why their record is so remarkable. So keep an eye on that as things go forward. But I'm going to try to come back on tonight. I like to do a live simulcast during the game to talk about Penn State and Boise State. If it's a close game going in the third quarter, then I'm going to simulcast and do a little commentary over the action come the second half, if it's still a competitive game. But like I say, it should be a competitive game because I feel like that Boise State's going to be able to run the football. But if they can't, it could be a long night in Idaho. But we'll see. But anyway, just wanted to chime in on Alabama. Hey, Mr. Bristol, how you doing? I don't have to block you today. Hope you happy note year. You starting the garbage again. But I won't get into that, man. You have a happy note year yourself, Mr. Bristol. But anyway, I'll check on with you guys later on tonight. And I expect to see a good ball game between Boise State and Penn State. Meanwhile, you got some good action going on right now with Illinois and South Carolina. So until next time, you guys have a great day, and I'll chime in with you during the game tonight, the playoffs. I'm out.